Winning Cures Everything. Now for your hosts, Gary and Chris.
Welcome in, Winning Cures Everything. It is Friday, September the 3rd edition of the show. I'm Gary.
I'm Chris.
And we have got some football to talk about. There's all kind of stuff happening in the world of college football outside of the games. And we're actually going to pick a few games as well. We're going to do a little pick 'em towards the end here. But we got things to talk about. So let's go ahead and do the rundown and get into it. WinningCuresEverything.com. That is the website. Go and check it out everywhere that you need to be subscribed. Every show that we do, every appearance that we make, etc., is going to be posted over there, so you can go find it at winningcureseverything.com. If you have not already subscribed to the YouTube or to the podcast, do us that favor. Go ahead and hit subscribe. Leave whatever review, comment, etc. you can. If you're on Apple Podcasts, that's the easiest way to leave a review for the podcast. And you can do a 5-star written review. We would certainly appreciate that. It helps get the word out and get us in front of other people. And if we're going to build an empire, we certainly need help with it. So go ahead and knock that out for us. The show is brought to you by BetUS, where the game begins. And you can use the promo code NCAAF2021, and they're going to give you a 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,500. That means more than $5,000 is what you'll end up with in your bank account if you put $2,500 in. So let me go ahead and tell you to do that. Click the link in the description below, and you won't even have to remember the promo code because it's going to automatically enter it for you. But if you want to remember it, if you're on the podcast, if you're just searching on your phone, whatever, NCAAF 2021, go ahead and check that out. I host the college football show for BetUS. Chris hosts the college football show for Sportsbook Review. You can find his over at sbrpicks.com/NCAAF, or you can just find the link in the description for both of them. Very easy to do. We try and make things simple around here, Chris, you know?
That's right.
Like, we just try and make it easy for everybody. So go ahead and check those out. Make sure you are subscribed to both. Now let's dive into some topics for today. College football playoff expansion has stalled. The headline from Dennis Dodd over at CBS Sports: college football playoff expansion stalls amid jealousy, distrust with vote unlikely in near future. This is interesting to me. The proposed 12-team expansion, believed to be near approval, is now being met with consternation, he says. There are people that are super pissed about the Texas-Oklahoma thing, and they think the SEC is trying to take advantage of this situation. Now, there are some people that believe that they just don't want ESPN to be able to control this thing forever. They think one entity having that much power is bad for the sport, and we tend to agree. But I don't understand. Like, there's one source says, I think we go back to square zero and start over, said one source intimately involved in the expansion process. I don't see 12 there. There are people that think that 12 is bad. The consternation has risen to the point that two high-profile sources involved in the process tell CBS Sports they support expansion at a number smaller than the proposed 12 teams, perhaps as few as 8. So all that mess from this summer is just up in smoke because now we have no idea what we're expanding to. Does it not seem like it would make a lot more sense for these other conferences because they have to have a unanimous vote on this, and that vote is done by 11 FBS presidents and chancellors. That's who makes up this board. Now, I don't know exactly who it is that actually votes on it, but you have to have a unanimous decision here. More people are going to want more opportunities to get into this thing. You cut this thing down to 8 where you've only got 2 at-larges. Even then, maybe it's all at-large, and then you're keeping other conferences out. I'm a little shocked that they would decide to reel this thing back in just so that the SEC does not get this magical number of like 5 or 6 teams in every year that they seem to think is going to get there. We don't believe that would happen anyway. Give me your thoughts here.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think this is people betting against their best interest. I don't think it's wise. I don't think it's smart. And listen, I'm a guy who's done many, many, many things that didn't benefit me out of spite. Okay? So I understand that, and I respect it. this is not one of those situations where I think I would have drawn a line in the sand and I would say, I'm going to vote against my best interest just to get ESPN out. Now, I do agree. So here's the deal. If they do this, if they put the block on it just to get us to open the bid up, and when the bid is opened, 3 or 4 different networks now have a piece of the the college football playoff, and then they say, okay, now we're good, then I'm fine. Yeah. But I need to see what actually happens, because if it's against the ESPN controlling it all, I totally understand that, because I don't believe that's in the best interest of the sport. I don't believe that's in the best interest of all the conferences. Yes. I don't think that's the right thing to do. So if you're doing it just to block that, like I said, once their contract is up, we open this thing, and if they have a piece of it, even if they have a large piece of it and they pay for it, that's fine. Yeah. But if they're able to somehow whittle their way in without, having to really bid against anyone else, then I'm not okay with that. I'm on the side of the people blocking it. If they legitimately do not like the number 12, then they're fools. And they're just, like I said, they're voting against their own interest. And that is something I can't understand or explain.
I agree with you. The board will meet on the 28th. Bill Hancock told CBS Sports, he's the CFP executive director. He said it'll be up to them to decide what action to take, if any. And then eyebrows were raised on Tuesday when Iowa Athletic Director Gary Barta said it was his understanding that the 12-team proposal would be voted in September. He said that proposal has not been voted on yet. When he was speaking with reporters, he said, my understanding is it will happen in September. That's number one, just a quick update. And then another person said that the voting is actually highly unlikely. Don't believe that's accurate. Who knows what to believe at this point? There's people that just don't know exactly what's going to happen when they meet in September. So maybe we have more information towards the end of this month, but more than likely, this thing is just shelved until the CSPS contract is up, and that's after the 2025 season. So the expansion stuff likely to slow down here, at least for the playoff, but that moves us into the Big 12, where expansion talks are picking up rather quickly. The Athletic is reporting that BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston are going to be the 4 that the Big 12 goes after. And if they do that, that is going to completely gut the AAC. So I'm hopeful it doesn't happen, but I also understand Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston are members of the American Athletic Conference. It requires 27 months' notice and a $10 million penalty for departing members. So if they are going to do this,
somebody's going to come up with $30 million.
Yes, and Houston, Fertitta, he'll be able to figure this out. So that won't be an issue, I don't believe. But the 27 months notice, they kind of need to figure out, okay, when are we going to let Texas and Oklahoma leave? When will that actually happen? And I'm betting that they can come up with some kind of a deal at the end of this season and say, okay, in 2 years or whatever. My best bet at this point is that it will be 2023 when Texas and Oklahoma join. So is that going to leave one season where they do not get to, where they've only got 8 teams and the AAC just stays packed? Because remember, Maryland did this. They announced they were leaving back in 2011, and it was 2014 before they played in the Big Ten. So I'm curious how this is all going to work timeline-wise, right?
Well, I mean, that's how these contracts work, though. So I don't worry about that. I wouldn't, if I'm the Big 12, I don't let Texas or Oklahoma out 1 second earlier than I have to.
I mean,
because
yes,
every year they're there, you're getting far more money for all of the games that the Big 12 would normally not get. So you either make ESPN pay you, or you make Texas and Oklahoma pay you to get the hell out early, or you sit and you collect those checks as long as they're willing to stay. I wouldn't negotiate. I wouldn't take 1 cent less. If they owe me $125 million, I wouldn't take $124 million and 99 cents. I wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give them one break.
Now, there was a little talk about Houston, and we actually talked about this on the show before, where, the Fertitta brother that handles this, and I forget which one it is, the UFC guy, the guy that handles all that, he seemed to ruffle some feathers with the Big 12 in the past. And they have basically come together and said, you know what, it will be best for us to put politics aside and bring Houston in as a member if we are going to maintain this Big 12 conference, if we're going to maintain a Power 5 status. And I kind of tend to agree. Like, I thought it might make more sense for Memphis to come in instead of Houston because you've already got a Texas footprint. But
you don't care about that.
I think you don't.
I want Memphis to be in because I love Memphis and because we're here. And I would love to see TCU come to Liberty Bowl. I would love to see these other schools come to Memphis and me not have to leave my house to go watch them play. But at the same time, the value of the alumni base and the fan base of Memphis is a fraction of Houston.
Agreed.
If you're just looking at the truth of the matter and we're taking, our biases off, Houston's just far more valuable. They just are.
Absolutely.
The only benefit you get of getting Memphis is you get balls deep in the SEC recruiting country. But I think once you get into Florida, you're fine. You don't. What you get in Memphis is so small compared to what you're going to get in Florida. And so I think you're okay taking the more valuable program, in that trade, which I hate because that means Memphis just becomes another also-ran. I mean, they're just a nobody.
Yeah, it becomes a problem because at that point, does the AAC try and stay together and bring up like App State and somebody else?
So what has to happen is the best of the Sun Belt, the best of the AAC, and I even think you jump on airplanes and you get the best of the Mountain West, and you try to form a 12-team conference of and then you now really are slaughtering the bottom feeders, the small schools. You're really killing them.
Yeah.
If you can't compete, I take Conference USA. I'm literally going and getting the top tier teams of basically the 4 remaining G5 conferences and trying to put a conference together that maybe once or twice in a blue moon can show up and make some noise. And I'll tell you this, that will have television value, no doubt, because while they won't have a Clemson or an Alabama or an LSU, they won't have a big fish. Somebody will pay money to get those games on TV. If you have 12 teams and one of the worst teams, it will be a UAB or a Memphis some years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, if you can go out and get the premier talent from the rest of the G5 and somehow form, one 12-team conference, and that means Memphis is going to have to go. South Florida is going to have to play Boise. That's just going to have to happen.
Yeah.
Look, they all fly private jets, charter jets anyway. It doesn't matter. So hop on a plane and get the best games you can get the best contract you can get for yourself, and be damned with the rest of it.
I agree. All right, we'll move off of that. I do want to bring up interesting headline that I saw, and you will get a kick out of this. It said, Cowboys claim ex-Panthers quarterback as potential number 2, which is really sneaky what they tried to do there because It's not Cam Newton. This would be one Will Grier. We talked about how bad the Dallas quarterback room was. They did cut not Gabbert. Who was it? Somebody else. They cut somebody.
I have no idea. I've paid zero attention to. I'm going to tell you this: HBO is getting screwed in their new Hard Knocks deal. If any team was going to be entertained, have you watched any of it?
I have not watched a single bit of it.
All right, well then that's why you think what you think. It's awful. It's unwatched for somebody who loves football, and I have never missed a Hard Knocks. I'm kind of done. It's bad. They did an entire episode where 4 to 6 minutes they were messing with the guy's contact lens. Like, this is the level of content they're getting from these teams. And I think we're getting to a point where it's just they're not getting the access, because I still think we have the storylines that we've always had. We're just not getting the access. There was also an episode, God, this might have been recent, where like we don't have enough Micah Parsons in there, and we have, you know, none of this guy. And so like Vander Esch goes to Parsons' house and they play Connect 4. Like, and that's what we're done. I'm done.
Did Jerry Jones just not allow them to record anything?
I have no idea. I'm going to tell you, if you ever wanted to get the Patriots, that last year was your chance, because there are certain rules. You can't have a new head coach, and you have to miss the playoffs. I don't know how long it's going to be before you're going to be able to get Bill again. And it could have been a thing where we don't want Bill because we don't think they're going to be good on TV, and he's not going to give us enough access. Well, I don't know what you got with the Cowboys, but that was garbage.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing they assumed Cowboys bring a cachet name. I would have gone to Jacksonville, because you got a dum-dum running that place that loves the camera, and he'll tell you anything. Just go ask the union reps. He's not afraid to say shit.
Okay, I can understand this. It kind of makes me want
to
watch it now.
Neither here nor there. It's awful to watch. But with that being said, I don't care anything about the Cowboys. Yeah. If Dak Prescott is healthy, they are going to be fun, and they're going to be good. Because I believe Dak's that good.
I do think Will Grier can be fun.
I don't know, man. I need to see it. I liked Will Grier. I was high on Will Grier coming out of college. I think I was wrong there. And if Dak is not there, I don't want to watch 1 second of the Cowboys. I hope all these teams that got them on prime time can flex out of them, because it's going to be bad.
I can imagine that. It was Garrett Gilbert, not Gabbard. I was thinking about Miami of Ohio's quarterback. But yeah, it's Garrett Gilbert that was cut. Ben DiNucci was released, but then he was signed back to the practice squad. Cooper Rush is the only signal caller behind Dak. And now, of course, we've got Will Grier. I did find it funny that they used Cowboys claim ex-Panthers quarterback as potential number 2. And I was like, man,
we've reached a new low when it comes to headline writing.
Oh, yeah, the clickbait stuff is, I mean, it did its job. I mean, it gets people to click, but just ridiculous. And finally, last news topic before we get into some college football, I guess, pick 'em that we'll say. We picked some different games in this one that will go down. Tim Tebow has got a new job at ESPN. Now, he is still hosting on Saturday mornings on the SEC Network. That's standard. But his next media move is going to be, he's going to be on First Take with Stephen A. Smith every Friday. It says, the press release says, every week will culminate on Friday with Heisman Trophy winner and SEC Network analyst Tim Tebow and Stephen A. Smith debating all things college football heading into Saturdays throughout the season. In addition, First Take will also continue to regularly welcome signature celebrity guests from across sports and entertainment to the show. They've got Michael Irvin coming in on Mondays, and now they've got Tebow on Fridays.
Rotate different guys in.
That's the plan. So it says this new format will pair Smith with new voices and perspective every day of the week, who will challenge him on their specific area of expertise in a completely new way, says Antoine Lewis, senior coordinating producer for First Take. Stephen A., Molly, and a lineup of A-list guests will definitely continue to provide fans with all they've come to expect from First Take and more. We're excited to get going. So Max Kellerman's last day was September 1st, a couple of days ago, and I think that Stephen A. and Tebow will be hard to watch. I think it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I agree. I think Tebow's really good on TV. But let me tell you what he's not going to be good at. Tebow is not going to criticize anybody at all. So you're putting like the nicest guy in the world on TV in a job where his job is to debate. His only job is to debate someone who has no problems crushing folks when it needs to be crushed. And I don't think Stephen A's a joke. I don't think Stephen A's a hack. I think Stephen A's pretty good at what he does. He has strong opinions. I don't know that I've ever had Tebow have any strong opinion on anything except for his faith. Yeah. That's it. And at some point in time, if he's going to go up there and he's just going to say every team is great, every team is well coached, every team deserves to win, then it's going to be awful and it's going to be unwatchable. Now, is it a good move by ESPN? Yeah, because we've talked about it before. I think they're dying to get the conservative viewer back. And Tebow moves the needle.
Oh, yes. Very much so.
My problem is if you put him on a show where he's bad, does that move the needle?
I don't think so. I mean, First Take does have a rather sizable audience, but are they going to stick around? And I do not know the answer to that. I have no idea, because I just think that Stephen A. will absolutely eat him alive in these debates. I don't know that I've ever seen Tebow really debate anybody. You know, he and Marcus Spears used to get into debates, but it felt so, one, it was one-sided. Two, it felt a little bit staged, usually. Like, Tebow had to be told, like, hey, you have to take this other side. I wonder how staged this is going to feel every Friday. I'm going to have to watch some of it.
Taking a side is one thing. Actually taking a stand on things is another. Agreed. What I see him doing is Stephen A. is going to crush someone, and he's going to take the other side by defending and propping up that person or that team. And this is what we're going to get. That's not necessarily definitively disagreeing. That's not taking that team. It's, in the Ohio State, Minnesota game, it's Stephen A. just saying Minnesota's going to get destroyed and they have no chance. And it's going to be Tebow saying nice things about Minnesota. And then that's going to be the debate.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I wonder if this will be them breaking down games heading into the weekend, and that's the way it rolls. So I don't know what to expect a whole lot other than what you just said, and we'll see if maybe they try and do something a little different, paint Tebow in a different light. But this is going to be interesting. Interesting to see. So, I mean, good on Tebow for getting another gig, because I think
there was no doubt ESPN was going to get him on TV. That's just a smart move.
Yeah.
I would put him on a studio show. I just think
he's better in the studio.
He's so much better. But all Saturday, and maybe he doesn't want to do that. Maybe he doesn't want to live his entire Saturday afternoon in ESPN's office somewhere. But I would, how they go back to the studio, and they've had the same, like 2 or 3 guys that kind of rotate in and out of that place forever. Joey Galloway's done it for a long time. Like, just different dudes have kind of sat in those spots. I would have him do that. But he doesn't want to move to Bristol or live every Saturday of his life in Bristol, so that's probably not happening.
Yeah, and I mean, Saturday morning he's going to be on the road with the SEC Network anyway. So,
but what I'm saying is he's more valuable in that other spot in the studio than he is on game or whatever SEC's version of Game Day
SEC
is.
Nation, I think.
Yeah, but because that studio show, they're going to you at halftime of every game ESPN is doing. So you got basically like 9 hours of Tebow instead of 2 hours before kickoff that nobody's watching because everybody's watching Game Day.
True. This is true. This is true. You ready to get in college football?
Come on.
Let's do it. College football week 1 against the spread. We are doing pick'em right here. Chris and I are going to discuss some games that I did not discuss on the BetUS show. Some, I believe, he has discussed on SBR, but we will rehash some of this stuff. And we will start off this week with the biggest matchup of them all. Clemson and Georgia. Chris, I believe you said on your show that this could be the biggest game of the year, and we get it in week 1. And I don't know that I can disagree with you. Clemson is a 3-point favorite. Odds, of course, provided by BetUS, where the game begins. Again, promo code NCAAF 2021. Go ahead and check out the description for the link to check it out. I will go ahead and tell you, I'm going to ride Georgia here. These are not official plays, by the way, anything like that. We're going to do a pick 'em here and talk about the games, kind of break them down a little bit. But I like Georgia. Whoever was getting points here, I was probably going to go with the dog. Because I do think, these teams are very similarly talented. And I think this is a breakout year for the Georgia offense. The fact that Clemson's offensive line appears to be having some issues, that scares me a little bit. But I've also, do you hear all this stuff about like availability issues due to COVID?
No, I haven't heard any of the COVID stuff. And when I broke it down and made my pick, none of that was there. My issue, it's a little scary betting against Clemson, obviously, all the time.
Well, yeah.
But I think your talent matchup's pretty even. I am afraid the best coach on the field works for Clemson, and it ain't Dabo. And my only fear is Kirby has a history of cocking these games up. Okay, he has a history of sometimes even dominating the football game, like really being in control of it, and then saying, "Hold on, guys, I need to start making some decisions now." So the world knows that I, Kirby Smart, am coaching this football game, and then the other team just capitalizes all over the decisions that Kirby makes, and then it snowballs on him and he loses. At some point in time, I got to feel like he's going to stop doing that. Maybe there's a coordinator that'll just tackle the shit out of him and say no. Or just tell the players, ignore the headset. Like, when I send a play in, you do what I say, and if Kirby starts talking, you just ignore that voice because you know what his voice is. And you know, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm with you. I picked Georgia in this game simply because I like the team with a head start. I think it's going to be a really, really close football game.
I think so too. I love the coordinator matchups here, especially Todd Monken against Brent Venables. Trying to figure out what's going to go on here is going to be bananas. Mississippi State last year, 23 carries, 8 yards rushing for Georgia against that Mississippi State defense. Now, they run a 3-3-5, but could Venables find something to slow down that Georgia running game? If they can put pressure on JT Daniels, they can absolutely come up with different ways. I'm curious about the Clemson wide receivers. I think that they have an advantage over that Georgia secondary right now because they got some fresh faces and whatnot. But but
hell, now Georgia's secondary. Receivers are.
And there's a lot that are banged up and whatnot, but they got
missing a lot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I do think that Georgia is going to be the better team this year. I will say that. So I'm going to ride with Georgia in this spot. Now, LSU, UCLA, and whoo boy, I got to tell you, I watching the game, watching UCLA and Hawaii the other night, I got even more convinced that LSU was going to win this game and maybe win it going away. Because the dominating part of UCLA's game was their line play, right? Defensive line held Hawaii to like 21 yards rushing, I believe, on 26 carries. I may have that back, but either way, or backwards. The offensive line dominated. UCLA was able to run all over Hawaii. They're not going to be able to do that against LSU. Like, I don't care how you line it up. You are not going to be able to do that against LSU. Now, I am a little worried about the distractions and whatnot. LSU had to set up base in Houston this week. I don't think it matters when it comes to game time because I don't think they're going to be thinking about anything else other than beating the guy across from them. I do feel pretty good about LSU in this spot. I think that they'll get more out of the passing game than what Hawaii did. I think they'll definitely get more out of the running game. And if UCLA can't throw, remember Dorian Thompson-Robinson was not good throwing the football
against Hawaii at all. Now, some of that I worry. All right,
because they didn't have to be, right?
Didn't have to. Why would you have thrown when you don't have to? Because against LSU, you're gonna have to, and you're gonna have all the chances in the world. Doesn't mean you can. Also, we have to remember, we think of guys like Chip Kelly, Gus Malzahn. We think of these guys and we think, oh, they just want to throw the football, because they go fast and they have high-powered offenses. But think about the offenses that they've ran throughout history. It all goes through the running game. And so if they can run the ball on you, they never stop running the ball on you.
Yeah.
Now, against LSU, they're going to have to throw the football. The difference is I think DTR is a good quarterback, and I think he can throw. This is going to be the best secondary he plays all year. If they can get their heads out of their ass and play right and not like they played last year, those windows are going to be tight, and he's going to have to make some hell of throws.
I don't think the cornerbacks are going to be left on islands this year, and I think that will certainly
not,
help.
Right?
Yeah.
Surely not. Right?
not after last year. So we will see what happens, but I do feel good about LSU -3. You're riding the same way, right?
Yes, I think I was nervous about this game all week, even all off season, but I just came to an epiphany the other night. SEC team, big boy SEC teams beat the hell out of Pac-10 teams, Pac-12 teams. It just doesn't matter. We're bigger, we're stronger, we're faster, we're better coached. There's not a level of the game where they're better than us. I shouldn't be worried. I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win in a rout. I also think UCLA is going to be a massive public play because we saw UCLA beat the hell out of them. And if you look at where the money went early, everybody's remembering LSU 5-5, terrible at football last year, laughing stock of the SEC, and they're seeing the Bruins on the way up. This is what people always remember as the last thing they saw.
Yes. The public gambler remembers what they just saw. They haven't seen LSU yet. That's the way it's going to go. Notre Dame. Notre Dame. That's the way we're going. Notre Dame, 7.5-point favorite on Sunday against Florida State. Now, I put this a little early in the pick'em because it's Notre Dame and it's Florida State. And there's a lot of love on Florida State right now. There was a ton of action because this line opened up around 9. It got bet up quickly to like 10.5, came all the way back down. Now we're sitting at 7.5. Jack Cohn is the quarterback for Notre Dame. Florida State, however, we have not figured out exactly what they're going to do. It sounds like Jordan Travis actually won that job over Mackenzie Milton, and that tells me that Milton has not come back fully from his surgeries and whatnot, and that's why I liked Florida State so much. Have they announced a starter for this? Have you seen it?
No, and I don't think they're going to, by the way. And I'll tell you this, if I'm Mike Norvell, I'm not going to either. I fully understand why these coaches do it. It pisses me off. It makes it, it makes it hard for us to talk about the game, to prep, and to be ready, but I wouldn't do it if I was a coach.
Yeah, the Tallahassee Democrat said resolution of Florida State's quarterback battle won't be announced until game day. And that makes sense. So it's I will tell you this. I think if Jordan Travis is the quarterback, Florida State is not going to be able to throw the football because I saw him last year, and unless he has made dramatic improvements, and I understand Florida State has brought in transfers, they have upgraded the roster, all of this good stuff, right? I get all of it. But if they can't throw the football on Notre Dame, they are not going to be able to run it.
No, I don't think they'll run the football on them.
So I will take Notre Dame minus 7.5 here because I don't think Florida State can throw the football.
I'm with you. I like Notre Dame in this game. I think Notre Dame is getting to – they're not Alabama. They're not Clemson. They're not Ohio State. I'm not asking them to be, okay? They're getting to that point where they lose guys to the NFL. For the last 5 years, they've put the best offensive lineman in the draft in the NFL. And every year we say, oh, that offensive line's going to struggle. Well, guess what? The next year, they're still the best offensive line in college football, or they're in the top 3 or 5 or whatever. They're just at that point where I'm not worried about some of the positions that they lose. They lost a bunch of tight ends. Guess what? I bet whoever's playing tight end for them is really athletic and can catch the football. Like I just assume that that's where Brian Kelly's gotten this program. Nobody trusts Jack Cohn because we didn't see Jack Cohn do much of shit while he was at Wisconsin. Guess what? Brian Kelly wasn't his coach at Wisconsin. Okay, and I mean that with as much disrespect as I can to Paul Chryst. They're not the same. Okay, they're just not. You got one guy that might be the 7th or 8th best offensive coach in the Big Ten, and the other guy might be the 3rd or 5th best offensive mind in all of college football. Big difference.
Yes,
But hang on, I could be way wrong. Jack Cohn could just be another dude, and Notre Dame looked terrible. But I just have gotten to a point where I trust Brian Kelly, and if it burns me this year, then it burns me, and it's going to burn me in this game. But I like the Irish.
Don't forget, Notre Dame also has Tyler Buckner, who I think will end up being the quarterback eventually. It may not even be this year.
No, I don't think Cohn's going to be bad enough to lose his job. I think we're going to see the best Cohn we've ever seen.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that. I think you might be right. So
I've seen good coaches take players that nobody thought were very good and turn them into really good players, and I'll be damned.
Yep.
It happened to be the coach.
Yep, you are correct about that. So now we did see a Wisconsin quarterback leave and transfer to another school in the past. That was Alex Hornibrook, and he didn't even start for Florida State. So who knows? But I do think this situation is different, and we are both riding Notre Dame minus 7.5, even with the hook. We like them. I like Notre Dame by double digits here. Next up, San Jose State and USC. Now, we have not differed on a single pick thus far. We are into game 4 now. USC, a 14-point favorite. Again, reminder, the odds are provided by BetUS, where the game begins. There's a link in the description. Use the promo code NCAAF2021 to get a 125% deposit bonus. Let's talk about this. You and I have discussed a theory where after we saw Hawaii get absolutely blasted by UCLA, we realized that Hawaii had not played a P5 team in 2 years.
Right.
This is another Mountain West team going up against a Pac-12 team. USC is even more talented than UCLA is.
Correct.
I wonder, right? Because this line was at 15.5, and then everybody saw Nick Starkel and that San Jose State offense come out and absolutely blast Southern Utah, who was like a 40-something point underdog to Arizona State this week. But I love San Jose State. I love Brent Brennan, excuse me. I think everything about what they did last season was awesome, and I think USC might absolutely skull drag them this weekend. I'm all over USC minus 14 because it just the talent differential is there. Now, Clay Helton had a bunch of close games last year against teams that he had no business letting stay in the game. But I do think if the talent discrepancy is that big and USC comes out with their hair on fire, they could absolutely cover this 14. It won't even be close. I think that this could be a 3-touchdown kind of game.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I think the same thing. We see this the same. And this is not a knock on San Jose State. I think there's a world where USC is really that good. I think there's a world where after this year, there's a lot of folks apologizing to Clay Helton.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Now, I do think that they can absolutely be beaten in conference, right? Utah, UCLA,
I'm not
Oregon,
saying they can't,
et cetera. Like, I think they can absolutely be beaten, but I do think that they are still a really good football team. They are well coached. Like, they're not.
I don't have them going undefeated, but if they finish this season undefeated, it wouldn't shock me.
It wouldn't shock me either. So I'm going to ride USC here, and we'll see what happens. So that's 4 where we completely agree. And here's the issue with us doing a show together for like 6 years already is we start to see things the same way.
I don't know about that. No, I think when we agree, we agree. We have no problems disagreeing. We
Agreed.
just don't agree on any of these games.
Correct. And
if we picked some other games, we probably would have disagreed a lot.
We got 3 more. So let's see what we got here, okay?
Okay.
Louisiana and Texas. Texas is an 8.5-point favorite here. And this is going back to that same theory, right? Now, Louisiana absolutely hammered Iowa State last year in their opening game. And Iowa State, of course, went on to play in the Big 12 title game, won the Fiesta Bowl. They beat up on Oregon, all that good stuff. Texas, the matchup that I am looking at here is the offensive line for Louisiana against the defensive line for Texas. And Texas is gargantuan. There's a lot of people that are all over Louisiana. They think Billy Napier is going to win this game, all this good stuff. I don't think Louisiana is going to be able to run the ball. And Levi Lewis is not a great passing quarterback. I got a lot of faith in Hudson Card. Like, I'm riding the favorite. I'm riding Texas here, and I think they win by double digits at home because I trust Steve Sarkisian to be able to put together a game plan to win this. And he understands. Like, you have the better players. You are at home. This is a Sun Belt team that you should beat, and it will be embarrassing in your first loss. You don't want to repeat what Tom Herman did. I'm on Texas here. I like Texas minus the 8.5. Yeah, I'm kind of big on this one. Now, do I trust them enough to make it an official play over at BetUS? No, but I do like Texas in the spot. I think they've got a big time advantage at the line of scrimmage.
Well, I made this an official play in my bet. Okay, I like Louisiana. I like Billy Napier. I think I got the better coached football team. I think I've got the more experienced team.
Yeah.
I also have another coach on the other side that understands there's a level of desperation here. And this is what I like about Louisiana is I actually got a little on the money line, but that don't matter. If you've got 8.5 or 9.5, you can get it some places. I'm telling you, Texas just wants to get out of this game with a win. All right. Would they love to beat the hell out of them and make all his boosters happy by covering a line for him? Sure. But he just wants a W. Okay. He just wants to get off on the right foot. And I think this is going to be one of the hardest fought games Texas is going to have all year long.
I agree with that. I do agree
really,
it'll be hard
believe
fought.
that.
I do think, like, for me, I think there's such a big advantage at the line of scrimmage that Texas will be able to run a lot of things that
Texas has a big advantage at the line of scrimmage all the time against people
right.
all the time. And guess what? They lose a lot of those games.
This is true. All right, so we can dive off of that one. We got 2 more games. Fresno State at Oregon. Now, the Ducks have got a massive game coming up next week. They are playing at the Horseshoe, and it's an early game for them. This situation was supposed to be a pretty easy win, but Fresno State last week just hammered UConn 45-0. This line sits at Oregon minus 21. It's actually gone up. It was 20 just a couple of days ago, and it's now moved all the way up to 21. A lot of love for the Ducks here. I do think they are the significantly more talented team, but you got Oregon in a bit of a look-ahead spot. I like Jake Haener. I like what Kalen DeVore is doing. I don't trust, I've said it all offseason, I do not trust the Oregon secondary, and I think Fresno's got some weapons, man. Like, Ronnie Rivers can catch passes out of the backfield. He's a great running back as well. I think that the DeBoer kind of spread offense that he runs, where he's gonna find space for his guys to get out there and make some moves. I like Fresno to keep this within the 3 touchdowns here. I think Oregon is a much better team, but I also think, like, Oregon is looking at that game against Ohio State as that's the one that we got to get. And they may not be paying all the attention that they need to Fresno State. What do you say?
So I don't have an opinion on this game one way or the other. I'm going to make a pick because we're making a pick here, but I haven't talked about it at all up till now because I don't have a feeling. If you told me who do I got to pick, I'm going to go with the same consistency that I've been. I think the bigger, stronger, faster, better coached football teams are going to win. Oregon's bigger, Oregon's stronger, Oregon's faster. People are killing their secondary. Listen, their secondary's not great in comparison to the best offenses in football. But do we really think Fresno State's got the best offense in football just because they beat the hell out of UConn? No. I made more money last week on one game than I have in a long, long time. Just betting against UConn. I bet against the team total. I bet against the first half. I bet against the second half. I bet against them, for the whole game. You just play against UConn blindly, and you're just going to print tickets all year long.
Yes.
Because Fresno did that, I'm still sticking with the better team, bigger, stronger, better coached, is going to win, going to cover. There's a reason this number went up. I think the books know that Oregon's big and Oregon's strong, and Oregon has playoff aspirations, all right? And they're not going to overlook somebody if they've got playoff aspirations. They know they can lose the Ohio State game and still make the playoff. They need to beat the hell out of everybody else.
Yeah, you could be right about that. I don't disagree that Oregon is in the playoff conversation. But I do wonder about this one because I think Fresno can make them uncomfortable, and this seems like one of those games that Fresno would be circling. It kind of goes against my theory, that we just talked about. But yeah, I think Fresno has got a few tricks up their sleeve that they will try in this game, and I think they'll keep it closer. But you are rolling minus 21. So we finally have 2 disagreements. Let's see what we end up with on our last game here before we get out of here and head into the weekend. And we are going to ride Texas Tech -2 against Houston. And this is a neutral sider. And honestly, I don't remember even where the game is being played. Do you remember?
It's being played at Houston.
Is it at Houston?
Played not at Houston State. No, it's at the Texans stadium.
Oh, NRG.
Yeah, whatever it's called. Yeah.
Okay. Texas Tech, again, 2-point favorite here. Matt Wells needs good things to happen, right? And I also think that Dana Holgorsen does as well. The quarterback tune for Houston has not been great over the last however many years, but he is now a veteran. He is rocking and rolling. And Houston, I mean, there are big expectations from them this season. The fact that they are an underdog to Texas Tech kind of surprised me a little bit with as bad as Texas Tech has been. But I'm going to tell you a matchup to look out for, okay? the Texas Tech wide receivers, all of them are like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". They got a 6'6" dude out there. Like, they are ridiculous. Tyler Shuck, the quarterback from Oregon last year, transferred in. He has won the starting job with the Red Raiders. I kind of like Texas Tech here because of the desperation mode. I have to see Houston actually play really well before I'm just, because I took the over on Houston, but I need to see it. I need to believe it because the last 2 years have been dreadful for them. Matt Wells has been in some games. He has lost some one-score games that they had a real shot of winning, right? Texas last year in like triple overtime. They've been in some tight games, and he really needs this one. Like, I can go ahead and write his check that he is leaving if they lose this game, and I think I'm going to ride with them. I'm riding with Texas Tech -2 in this spot.
You can bet on a dead man walking. I will not. I'm going to bet on Holgo, okay? I'm going to bet on the better coach. I think they're the better football team. I think the wrong team is favored here. Yes, you're betting on a team that's desperate, and Houston's not desperate.
True.
You know who brings the lady home for the bar? The guy that's not desperate.
That's true. The guy that's got confidence.
He walks in, he pounds his drink, and he walks out.
Well, that is something that Holgerson is known for.
There's no doubt.
I mean, the skullet, the gambling, the Red Bulls. I understand Red Bull and vodka. Like, let's go, Dana Holgerson.
I think they're the better football team.
You might be right. You might be right. I know Texas Tech brought in a bunch of transfers. Like, they seem to shore up their defense a little bit. I think they're trying. Yeah. I think they're trying a lot of things, but that's the mark of this team that's desperate. They got no choice. They got to throw everything they can at the wall and hope something sticks. Dana, it's taken him a while to get this football team into his image. True.
Okay? We're now at the point where this should be the best Dana team he's had so far.
They do have a lot of talent, a lot of skill talent. We'll see what that offense looks like. I don't think that Houston's defense is going to be able to stop Texas Tech a bunch.
Have you had a Dana Holgerson team that had great defense ever?
No. There were a couple at West Virginia that were okay.
But that's not what he does. Okay?
Hey, should we be looking at the total here? 64.5?
No, because there's a world where Texas Tech's offense sucks.
You're not wrong.
What does your offense look like in the past? Now, just because Houston's defense is bad, man, this Texas Tech team has struggled to score in the past.
This is true. They almost always.
I would not touch the total for that very reason. Now, there's a world where they combined score 85. Okay, yeah. That could happen, and we just blow this total so far out the water it's not even funny. But if Texas Tech is bad,
Houston can crush them. Yeah. And you don't want that
Houston
total.
Beats them by 45, then they're not going to run it up. They're just going to win the game and get out.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. You are not wrong about that. All right, that is going to wrap up our pick 'em for the other games. Of course, go over and check out the SBR College Football Show with Chris and our buddy Sam. And you can always check out the BetUS College Football Show with myself and Parker and Kyle Hunter. Links are in the description for those. Are there any topics that have popped up that we need to hit?
Nope, we got everything.
I think we're all good. All right, you guys have been fantastic. We appreciate it very, very much, you watching and spending a little bit of time with us, watching, listening, however you consume the content. Go to winningcureseverything.com. Make sure you are subscribed where you need to be subscribed, YouTube and the podcast. So check those out for sure. So, follow us on social media. We're both on Twitter. You can find that over on the website or in the description as well. And don't forget, the show is brought to you by BetUS. You can get a 125% deposit bonus up to $2,500. That is sportsbook exclusive. So it's all money to bet on sports this fall. Go ahead and knock it out. The code is NCAAF 2021, and the link is in the description along with the promo code. So go and check that out. Chris, this has been a lot of fun. It's been a good week. I am ready for college football. It is rocking and rolling. So everybody take care of yourself, take care of each other, and hopefully, all of your tickets cash this week. Thanks for checking out Winning Cures Everything. If you want to keep up with us, hit subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Visit the website at winningcureseverything.com, or you can like us on Facebook or follow us at Winning Cures, at Gary WCE, or at Chris B. Giannini on Twitter.